Georgina Steytler. So a nature photographer with a passion for birds, ethics and conservation, Georgina's interest in photography became a passion 10 years ago when she quit her corporate job and began volunteer work with BirdLife WA. Since then, she has been producing images free of charge for conservation organisations across Australia, as well as teaching the art and ethics of bird photography through workshops, talks and articles. In 2018, Georgina became the first Australian woman to win a category, which was Invertebrates Behaviour, in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, the world's foremost nature photography competition. She has also won Bird Photographer of the Year in the Best Portfolio and Creative Prize, and was a Grand Prix winner of the EAAFP Waterbirds Photo Contest, Australian Photography Awards in Wildlife, and Australian Geographic Nature Photographer of the Year, the Portfolio Prize. So, great honour. Please welcome Georgina Steytler.
Hello? You probably don't need it. You really? You might want to turn your hearing aids down if you've got one. So apologies to Dean because I didn't send through a bio, so I guess you've kind of got the standard. I need to change it. So yes, I am predominantly a bird photographer but I also do nature, and I suppose I'm expanding more recently, but that's why there was mainly a focus on birds. But I also want to say, I probably could just go, okay, so these are actually two Joeys. I was actually taking landscape images and I had them with me, so I popped them out for a wee. But they were looking at me, Livy and Philly, and they're back in the wild now. This is many years ago. But it is a good example of an image that really captures people's attention and shows the vulnerability of these animals that are orphaned. Their whole life depends on you. And what I've done here, if you look, it's I'm at ground level, so I'm at their eye level. I'm actually a bit lower, and they're looking at me going, Mum, what are you doing? Don't leave us here. But it's a very intimate perspective, and then it also shows them in this big wide world and they're all alone. So in photography, and I think that Louise yesterday, no, I don't know if I got to pronounce your last name, Bonamy, it kind of highlighted to me the importance of photographers, because sometimes you think, well, how important, but at the end of the day, all these campaigns have to begin with good images. And I hope to today show you a few tips on what will make a better image for your photography, as well as some of my things. So here's I'm really a mixed bag. So I actually studied law Japanese, really, really handy. In nature photography, not. I volunteer a lot. I've written a book, For the Love of Birds. You might see it's published. There's a copy available for the raffle. I've actually got a book coming out later on this year, For the Love of Flora. And no, I know nothing about Australian flora. But so, well, I do now. I do a lot of judging of international photography competitions, and for instance, the Wildlife Vets International, if anyone knows them, they deal a lot with conflict animals, tigers and things in Asia, and the impact of disease on the behaviour of animals. And I'm part of me is wondering if those dingoes on Fraser Island, maybe if some of them start getting aggressive, we don't know if they've got maybe underlying diseases that are causing their behaviours to change, but that's one of the things that they look at. I'm also been a wildlife carer, and I was telling someone yesterday, I said, you're not a real wildlife carer until you've looked after a euro. So you've come home and all your toilet rolls are unravelled. They've eaten the back out of your favourite silk shirt, and then they've peed on your pillow. And I remember one day, sorry, I'll just tell this story really quickly. I was having this lovely, relaxing time. I had the two Joeys in the pouch next to me, and it was raining. It was in 2J. It's about 60 k's northeast, and then there was rain on the tin roof. It was so relaxing. And then suddenly it started hailing. And I heard this dung, 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 dung. And then, of course, the Joey's just Millie freaked out, and she just hopped out of the bag and she was bouncing into all the walls and everything. So I'm jumping out, and the dog was there. She's like gone to Vladivostok. She took off. And then I'm trying to catch this Joey, and I got her by the tail, and eventually I shoved her into the bag, and I was holding onto her, and she was so terrified, like just like this. And then my husband goes, and then I come back into the room, and my husband goes, I'm just going to check on the possum. And I turn around, and he comes back in, and he goes, can you please remove the possum from my head? Because he's opened the cage, and like the possum's just gone, and his little claws, and I had to prise them off. And anyway, I go back into the room after this utter chaos, and there's the other Joey, Molly, still sucking on her little toe, just absolutely chilled out, like nothing had happened. And I guess what the story shows people, and wildlife carers knows more than anything else, that every animal has a different personality. And also they're really, really sensitive to things like, we don't realise, they don't know about rain, you know, when it first rains and they're trying to avoid the raindrops. It's really cute. They're very, very individual little animals. They all have different responses. They all have different personalities, and it's really an amazing thing to be doing. Okay, so I better keep going because I can go on forever. As you see, I'll go through quickly. I just wanted to go through this a quick agenda. Again, this is another example of showing an interaction that is much more impactful than just a kangaroo in a paddock. There's a bit of light behind, you know, it's the moment of a child, like a young Joey with their mother. So I wanted to just start by saying the importance of impact of social media, because it's really, really why photography matters, and it is the world we live in today, and it's actually quite massive. So there's 4.8 billion social media users in the world, and the average female social media users 2 hours and 24 minutes time spent using social media every day. That's 46% of female, 53% male. I mean, we're talking a lot. 6.6 different platforms. It's massive. So we cannot underestimate it. It is the new way that people get information and socialise. And what are the most popular social media? Well, Facebook 2.9, YouTube 2.5, WhatsApp, Instagram. So I'm on Instagram. And Facebook, apparently Facebook, according to my step-granddaughter, is for old people, just in case you didn't know. That's another little Joey at sunset. Can't tell you how beautiful golden light is to give just a beautiful, and again, at eye level, looking out. So I also wanted to cover with social media that I think there is a danger, and it's something that was touched on by this in a book by Linda, I can't pronounce her name, Haupt. And I think it's a real thing. You know, we all love David Attenborough documentaries, but there's a real danger that people see nature as out there. So the Nature Out There is a documentary you see on TV, the meditation CD you listen to on the way to work, think waterfalls and tweeting birds. The untouched, pristine wilderness as a place of peace and transcendent beauty to which we can turn as a diversion for our cluttered material lives. And I think that's really happening. And the problem is there's a disconnect. When we allow ourselves to think of nature as something out there, we become prey to complacency. If nature is somewhere else, then what we do here doesn't really matter. And whereas urban sprawl and the degraded, chopped up habitat it leaves in its wake is the single greatest threat to species diversity and wildlife in the current millennium. If we wish to have a positive impact on the places we consider to be most profoundly wild, then we must begin by inhabiting our own ecosystems with some semblance of knowledge and grace. And it's so true. And what I'm trying to say to you is that when you think about photos, we need, and it's going to be a lot of people say you shouldn't do it. I'll go back. We need to think about how we're going to cut through that idea of nature out there. And sometimes I think those studio shots with the animal in the white background, bit sterile. And sometimes I think it's too disconnected from from the story behind the animal to have a huge impact, because people are just going, oh yeah, that's a baby owl, you know what I mean, we all know, and it's really beautiful. But these shots that show the baby, the carer's hand, things like that, they're really probably much more important to have those kind of images, because we need people to see the story behind it, to see that these are vulnerable little animals, that they're like little children. They do need to be cared for, and they do matter, and somebody cares for them. And there's a lot of different types of photographic advocacy: nature competitions, photojournalism, stock images, social media influencer stuff. So by that I mean, it's probably what I've been doing a lot today. If you look at my account, it'd be mostly just pretty photos, and every now and then it's a conservation message. And in some broad terms, you are having some impact, but at the end of the day, it's probably not going to be enough to make a real difference, but it is there. Nature articles and books. So when I published that book, For the Love of Birds, the idea was to inspire people to fall in love with birds and to see them as individuals with a unique personality, not just, this is a red-capped parrot. I want them to see this is an amazing bird. Look at its plumage. It matches the bottle brush that it's on. I mean, it's actually, you're like, damn, nature's really clever. And also, like, they're just quirky, or you'll see a lot of my shots have got personality, and I want people to see that animals are not just, not just representative of a species, they're individuals with their own unique style. This is a chuditch that was taken at Robin Foley. They live around the shed, and Robin used to get upset because they would nick her bras, I think, to go and make a nest. But he's looking at me, and I'm sure he's going, I was in camo, and I'm sure he's going, why is that human in a camo lying on the ground? Yeah, that's the danger of camo. I know. You just see him going, what the hell? Photos for causes and fundraising. And I just wanted to talk about nature competitions briefly, and it sounds a really superficial thing, but it's actually incredibly important. And that photo there was in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition, the number one. And Justin Hoffman took it, I think, in Indonesia somewhere. And they said it had the biggest impact of any photo they've ever had in the history of the wildlife competition. It actually resulted in countries legislating about plastics. This one image, it just could change, countries' laws. So this is huge. Never underestimate competitions. And the reason why is we struggle to get things heard in Australia. People have heard it, but if we can show that image of those kangaroo, I was talking about this yesterday with Louise, like mounds of kangaroo hands that the shooters do, and they chop them up and they leave the hands and the feet in a pile. If you can show that and you can get that into a competition, that's going to get international, like the most amazing coverage that you'll never get otherwise. So competitions are actually really important. So if you have something really that you really want to get a message across, you need to start engaging photographers who are professional and who know how to get the most out of it, and perhaps they can enter it in competitions. And if we can get their message out, that'll make a big difference. So my photographic philosophy, I love crested pigeons, and they do that mating thing. The males go after the females, and the females are always running away. And so the male does his thing, and then he's got to run to catch up, and then he does it again. They're such idiots. So this is what I mean. My philosophy is to portray animals as individuals with a character of its own, intelligence, a beauty to be admired, a mystery to be solved, a skill to be envied, and each with a unique and deserved place in this world. So I'm going to give you some tips. Avoid bad light. Now, by that I mean harsh light, and I'll show you some slides, and it makes a big, big difference. So don't take photos in a contrasty, harsh light in the middle of the day when there's shadows and light. It will affect the aesthetic quality of the image. Try to get at eye level. Again, isn't he so cute? He's still looking at me. Lead the composition. People talk about the rule of thirds. I'll show you a slide. I think that's probably a better way to show it. Humour is really great for engaging people. Authenticity. So You want photos that are real, not manufactured and photoshopped too much. Or when I say too much, I just mean people do contrast and things like that, but not adding and subtracting and things like that. And a real situation, not a fake thing. Zoom in and out. So don't forget the wide angle shots as well as super close, super close. Spray and pray is my term for when you hit the shutter and it just goes. So that's what I do. So you do that and then you pray you get a good shot. That's me. And then anthropomorphize. And there used to be, traditionally they say I can't anthropomorphize. And I think Jane Goodall was the one who really changed that, because she would name her chimpanzees when she was doing her study, and that really upset the traditional male scientists. But they've since found out, oh, actually they do have personalities. You know, that part of the brain's in the different part on an animal, but oh, they do have it. But of course we all knew they had personalities. The thing about anthropomorphizing, and I'll get to it in a moment, is that we need to do it actually. So we've got to get away from this scientific, this technical thing that, oh, you can't make them like human-like, but we have to, because there's a disconnect, and that's, studies have shown that's the only way people will care is if you make them feel like they can relate to that animal and tell a story. So these are just a few images. Tamar wallaby, I don't know if everyone hasn't seen one. Black glove wallaby, that we have quite a lot in the southwest, and that's the swamp wallaby from Kenyana. Isn't he gorgeous? Oh my God, I'm so in love. I love it. And look at the little black gov. Oh my God, look at the little hands. And they're really, really cheeky little sods. They hiss at you. So this is good light. Golden hour, we talk about that, the early morning, beautiful warm light just at sunrise, or in the evening, if you're like me and you hate early mornings. Shade, so if you have got a high contrasty day, take a picture of the animal in the shade, and then the lights behind, but it gives you that beautiful even light. Cloudy days are great because you get beautiful colour, you get beautiful detail. Actually, the irony is that bright sunlight tends to stop you getting the detail. There's too much contrast and reflection, and the camera can't find the fine lines. That's a cloudy day. Albatross, Buller's albatross, and you can see almost every feather and all the gradations, and you wouldn't get that in the bright sunlight. This is another example of an egret. Cloudy day, mandra. Just beautiful, soft images. This is golden light, Pacific black dove, the Avon River, which is disgustingly polluted and, well, I wouldn't say polluted, but it's just been very, very badly managed over the years, and it's full of algae and everything, but wow, it can look pretty in the right light. This is that baby. I love this bird. Albatross, I was talking to Fiona Sullivan, if people know her, seabird rescue, last night, and we were just talking about it. We're both in love with albatross. There's something about them, and she looks after them. So, oh, and this is one of my little babies looking out. Again, golden light. So, and this is bad light. Like, we've all have photos like this. This is why they're awful. Can you see the difference now? Same equipment. I've taken these photos with the same equipment. This is taken in the middle of the day, looking down. Horrible background, look at that. Can you see? And also they're not quite sharp. In Australia, we have a thing called heat haze, which is really, really a big problem for photography, nature photography. You especially with shooting with long lenses, you're going to struggle to get sharp images because all the heat haze between the camera and the subject is distorting the sharpness of the image. Humidity will do the same thing. So this is me in action. And this is my attempt at graphics on the computer because I can't do it. I could only do the circle tool. I couldn't work out how to do anything else, so everything had to be a circle. Do you trust me? So I was trying to demonstrate why if you look here, you're looking at the bird, and then you see behind the background's a long way away because we don't know where the background is. If you're looking down, the background is whatever's right behind the bird. Makes a massive difference. And don't be embarrassed. I do that in public places all the time. I've had people ask I've had people talk to each other going, is she dead? Someone tried to take my wallet and my mobile. It's just like... Again, this is same equipment, even nice light, but I'm standing, looking down. This is the same kind of bird, but lying down. And I've got suddenly this beautiful, soft bokeh that's from sand that's out of focus and that. So getting low is really important. I'll just put this one up again as an example of all those things. And eye contact, I love backlight because it adds an extra layer of drama to the image and mood. So, and you can see here it's captured the little bits of fur. Now, I think people can really relate to that, humans, you know, the dust, you're having a scratch and then you see the kind of fur going off. And he's just quirky. But it also makes them human, if you know what I mean. Like, we all scratch, we all get itchy. Pelican, it was at the Albany fish cleaning thing, and they all hang around there, and you didn't want to get between a pelican and a free fish. But can you see there's a pelican out of focus there? So there's different ways, but that eye contact is so intense. Oh, this is... Just put this one in because... But this one's all about eye contact. The irony is that he's not actually looking at me. If you flip the photo, you can see it better. He's actually looking beyond me, past me, but it looks, you know, it just, high impact. There's a picture of a kite and then there's a picture of a kite. And this is why I talk about anthropomorphic eyes and humour. Studies have shown that utilising anthropomorphic language when describing dogs created a greater willingness to help them in situations of distress, and the degree to which individuals perceive minds and other animals predicts the moral concern afforded to them. So this is why it's important. We need to cut through all the scientific and traditional stuff, and we need to just do whatever's important. So this is a migratory wader. I like that he's having a scratch, but I kind of thought it felt like he was saying goodbye or hello, you know. These are remarkable birds, a bar-tailed godwit. There's a later one, but latest one, flying. And the reason why I'm passionate about ethics is that bird photographers are actually having a bit of a negative impact on birds like this, because what happens is these guys fly from Asia to Australia, Arctic Circle down to Australia every year and then back up to breed again. They land, they've lost half their body weight. They fly, one was radio tracked flying 13,000 kilometres in 8 days non-stop. It is the most remarkable feat that we can't even begin to imagine. So when they land, they do not need people coming up and flushing them and all kinds of things like that. But also it's about respect and looking at it. They're little brown birds. We tend to dismiss them on the beach, but they're actually the most remarkable animals in the world. And this one's just humour. This is the pigeon just jumped and he didn't need his wings. It's like, these are the Euro, that's the little sod that ate my silk shirt. They both pee on everything. One even peed on my keyboard. But here was Rufus having a mango, and he loved the mango. But, you know, so that kind of thing, like we all love good mango, and then he's licking his paws afterwards. And then that's just little doofus holding on to my sister-in-law's arm. So, and also don't forget to focus on detail. So that's the wing of a brush bronzewing. And Carol's here. Carol does the seabird rescue and the penguins down. And she had a seagull that needed his feet amputated. And we fished out the rotting feet out of the bin because I want to take a photo. But photos like this are important because they tell a story. You don't need to show the whole bird, but we need to see things like this. We need to, if we want to make a difference to how people's behaviour, we need to kind of have graphic images as well. But if this is not that graphic, but it is and it isn't, if you know what I mean. But it does tell a huge story without needing to say anything else. This is a really shallow depth of field. So don't think everything has to be in focus. This is one of the things about people who are professional photographers, we have really great lenses. So this is like a 1.2 millimeter, 1.2 focal thing, which is like a really, really shallow depth, but you get a beautiful look. This is Henry from Kenyana, the education redtail, Helen's friend. There is nothing more magical than suggestion. When you reveal everything, you kill imagination. I live in a world of imagination, and that's where I want to stay. That's Vincent Meunier. And he's an amazing French nature photographer, but it's so true. Don't feel like you have to show everything in an image. Sometimes just part of something that you can tell what it is, but it's not the whole thing, actually has a more profound effect, because what the brain is doing subconsciously is filling in all the gaps. It's like when they give you those sentences and the words are all misspelt, but you actually know what the sentence is saying. Well, your brain is doing a lot of work. If you present a literal picture of a bird there with it, we can see everything. Your brain doesn't have anything to do. It sees it, knows what it is. It's got all the details done. Images that, you know, you're trying to work out what it is subconsciously, they actually do linger longer. And we need images like that. This is the advantage of spray and pray. Now, sometimes if you have a good camera, make sure you do it, and fast enough shutter speed. I always say like 1600ths of a second at least to capture action, freeze it. And if you were looking at this, you wouldn't see the emu eating that berry. You wouldn't actually see, like you see it, but you don't really see this. It's so quick. But these kind of images, you could do that with wildlife when they're doing things, they're hopping on a funny angle and everything. So make sure you do utilize that sports action function on your camera, because you can really get really interesting moments. So when I say importance of composition, this is like, it's cut off a bit, but we talk about the rule of thirds, and the idea is that you put the subject on one of these intersecting lines here, and it's a much more pleasing photo than if you put the subject in the middle. If you put a subject in the middle, you think about it, you go to the middle, you look, and then the eye's got nowhere else to go around the photo. If you put, here we go back. If you put the subject here and it's looking that way, subconsciously your brain is going like this and it's traveling around that image. And that's why it's a more pleasing image. And the Greeks years ago came up with this, they decided the Nautilus spiral was the most beautiful shape in nature. They worked it out, and they did a lot of their building designs based on this like design. And it's fact. It's actually, you can go through, and we humans are pretty simple things. There are some basic things that we find more beautiful than others. And there is no doubt about this. So if you're wondering about how to compose, start trying to do it. Follow the rule. I always say follow the rules, and then learn the rules like a pro, break them like an artist. So always start and try and think about this, and think about how you can have other elements in your picture that can help give a more, balance, not just something in the middle, but something around. If you look at this one, you can actually see that's the spiral happening there. So it's a much more pleasing image for some reason, you don't know why. This one is a little woily that Brian probably won't, I think that's your hands, Brian, or it could be, I think so, you needed to clean your nails. But it's quite a nice, because can you see how your eye's going around like that, and the hands are leading up, and then you've got the eye and you're going around. So that kind of composition you got to think about. And also telling a story. And this is a bandicoots. They always eat on the side of the road in Albany. It freaks me out. So I got down one day and photographed one, and there's a car. Like they're right on the edge of the road, and they do get run over. Oh, and here's Carol. This is Carol here. You can't see her. That's my husband. And these two they're rock hoppers, aren't they, Carol? Yeah. So they were hilarious. So Carol goes, oh, they're ready for release, because when we pick them up on the south coast and they're molting, so they're really vulnerable. So Carol takes them in. And I said to Carol, you sure they're not the same ones come back every year? Because they get free food and board for like 3 months. I think you said they tracked one and it was the same one had come back. Anyway, but it was hilarious because we took them out. She said they're ready for release. We took them out. They went for a bit of a swim, and then they walked back up to Carol and like, okay, I'm ready to go home now. So this is Carol like trying to take him back out into the ocean, saying you need to go back. Oh my God, they are the most amazing images. So that's the story behind that one. Oh, and this is the gull with the amputated feet. That's it about to be released. So I shot that through. Carol probably thought I didn't do anything with those photos that day, did you? That's me shooting through the carrier and him looking out. You know, he's about to be released, so it's a nice thing. Oh, and this is probably the leading conservation wildlife photojournalist in Australia, if not one of the best ones in the world. He's amazing, Doug Jimsey, and some people here know, I can't pronounce his last name, he's probably going to kill me. Anyway, but I'm pleased to see no one else can work it out either. But he his images are amazing, and you can see they're wildlife carers. He's won international awards. He's really managed to showcase issues. He did the poisoning of the wedge-tail eagles, that farmer over east. He's done the trafficking bobtails and things at the airport and stuff, and he's done this flying fox, I think won a huge award in England last year. But he's also worked on the platypus campaign to ban the nets. I think, what are they, the opera nets, that's right. So he's a remarkable guy, and he is there for wildlife carers, and he takes his images are what I was thinking. I said to him, I had to get some training from him the other day, because I said, teach me, because these are really important images, and we need more photographers to be doing it, not just the pretty ones for social media. More photographers need to do things like this, and myself included, and that's where I hope to go in the future. Another wildlife photographer friend, who some of you might know, Angela Robertson Buchanan. Does anyone know her? She's the one who had the yellowtail black cockies that are in Karakan. She's a wildlife carer in Sydney, so she does full-time wildlife care, but she also takes photos of birds. And I got her tips because she's like me, she's really passionate about having a minimal impact on wildlife, and these are her tips, and you can probably get them later because now it's a bit intense if you get the talk, but I thought it'd be really good. She never photographs with a flash, so she uses these little things here. It's a Pro LED light, continuous lighting, can be mounted on your camera shoe. And that's the colour temperature she adjusts it to. She could photograph them discreetly through a cage. So look at that image there, and I'll show you on the next slide what it looks like when she's processed it. She relies on natural light of the cage if outside. She never takes pictures of really stressed animals and birds. I'm the same. If they're really stressed, I just don't even want to go there. Never use a flash, especially important on nocturnal birds. And she uses a combination of high ISO and continuous light on the lowest setting to get images. And yeah, who'd believe it? But that's that photo taken through the cage. So it just shows you what's possible when you know what to do with the camera. You don't need to take them out and, into a studio, and the whole thing probably very stressful. The sun was shining the backlight, which gave her a diminished aviary mesh. So the aviary mesh has kind of disappeared because you can overexpose it. 10mm macro lens. Oh my God, the macro lens. It's probably supposed to be 100 because it's a really good, pretty sure they don't have a 10mm, so that's just a typo. And again, the Karawong, so that she's taken that photo in that condition. So she hasn't need to take the animal out. She hasn't need to flash or anything like that. Yep. I'm actually getting there. And these are other ones. This is a mobile studio. So she uses a white paper attached to the wall with an infinity curve. The birds sit in the front. She has 2 continuous light bulbs behind on each side, and then she has one in the front, and she uses a 100mm lens. Really, really minimalistic. Look at the little darlings. So she's got a series of books, and she donates 25% of all her proceeds to conservation. She's just a remarkable woman. And then this is an example of a bit of what I've done recently, and my book, all my proceeds from my book for the love of birds that I got went to this wetland as well. It's a wetland that we, and myself and a couple of locals decided was really important to buy because it was home to the Australasian bittern, and we had up to 5 breeding pairs. So it's like 10% of the population in WA were in this wetland. It was being used as a potato farm. So we started last year, beginning of last year. I think it was last year, wasn't it? It happened really quickly, and we incorporated a company, we negotiated with the owner, we fundraised, we've now raised $500,000 and been able to purchase this property, 103 hectares. But critical to that was my images, obviously. Going out there and taking pictures of, like, that's a swamp harrier. I always call it swamp or a marsh harrier. I always get it wrong. That's like the little cormorant. Like, they're so cute. So this is why it's really important to have a professional photographer. So you could go out there and, yeah, someone says got a good camera, but you really need someone who actually really, really does know what they're doing to get really good emotional images, because there is a real technique. And when you want to ask for a lot of money from people, you need to look like you know what you're doing and you're not like some amateur outfit, that you've actually got a bit of professional thing behind it. Oh, sorry, I had to put my mud skipper in because I'm in love with mud skippers. So if I go back, what was I going to say there? Oh, yeah. I wanted to say, with this wetland, it was a community effort. And what became apparent with this wetland is that the government bodies weren't going to help. We couldn't rely on government. And I'm sorry if there's government people here, but increasingly we're finding, I'm coming to realise, government, the Department of Environment, DBCA, and I'm sure it's the same over east, they're becoming increasingly political. And they're minimal funding, they're not allowed to give you negative news. So they won't tell you if their conservation and the population's declining or it's failed. They won't tell you, they'll only tell you the good news. They're not allowed to. So they've got these policies, they're not allowed to talk to the media. It's vetted. They're terrified that the minister, if they say anything, government. So we cannot rely on the government, basically. We need to start, it's community action that's going to change anything. That wetland, it was community action. It was a whole range of people who got together. So community and people and wildlife carers, everyone, we are the important ones. You got to kind of almost forget about government because they're there, but they cannot be relied on. But people power does work. So what I want to summarise is Australian nature is awesome. We have the most unique flora and fauna in the world. Like, we are at the top. We are one of these places that scientists in other parts of the world just dream about. And we have so little appreciation of how special it is, the flora as well. And we just need to start getting people to realise they're amazing. Yeah, it's a kangaroo, they're used to seeing it, but these are amazing animals. I miss kangaroos when I'm overseas. I'm like, oh my God, I want a kangaroo. And to give you an idea about the flora, we've got more species of flora in WA, in Australia, than the whole of the Northern American continent. We've got 15 times more than Europe. We have so much rich diversity here, and we need to start appreciating it. So what's I hope to get to come out of this is that good scroll stopping images and reels, videos is so annoying because I don't know why you do them, but anyway. They're really, really important on Instagram and things like that. And they're essential in this era of disconnect. And to get good images, remember, you want a nice light, eye contact, try and get low because it's a really great perspective. Composition, storytelling, avoid flash on nocturnal birds. We need to anthropomorphise. And then the last point I wanted to make is the importance of community action in the face of underfunded and politicised government departments. And my mission, almost forgot. I'm almost on time, Helen. Oh, I'm so pleased. Now, where to from here for me? Now, I have ideas every week. But this is, and don't tell Doug that I use the word roadkill because he's got this big thing about terminology. It's supposed to be road trauma. And I did miss that roadkill app talk yesterday, but I'm really looking forward to catching up on it later if I can get access. But one thing happened, this here is Margie. She was a green turtle, and that's a boat propeller strike. And I saw her when I went to the Australia Zoo hospital, and I said to the treating vet, I was like, what can we do? And she said, well, the number one thing that we could do is legislate to make propeller guards mandatory in Australia on all boats. Now, I'm thinking that's doable, because the other thing we need to target, and this is what I want to say to people, we need to think bigger issues as well as wildlife carers. We need to look at the micro, helping this animal, but we really need to step back and say, how can we prevent these animals coming in the first place? So there's a growing body of evidence around the world, for instance, showing crossing structures and associated fencing help prevent car crashes and save the lives of people and wildlife. So in America, they've got together with the insurance companies and they lobbied the government, and the government worked out it was cheaper to build the overpass and underpass to the economy because of insurance costs and things. And it actually helped the wildlife as well. Now, we don't have the same big animals, but there must be potential there for us to leverage like the RAC insurance companies and say, hey, come with us. But critical to that, before we can do that, we need data. So we need the data. So this is why roadkill apps and apps that record the location that animals are dying, what species, what kind, they're really, really important because we can't do anything without the information first. So it's going to take us a couple of years to get that information, but we need to do it and we need everyone to use it. So that's one thing I'm hoping I want to talk to WA Wildlife about. Maybe we can get one in WA that we can start recording, like, for instance, and then we can get possum bridges put in the right areas. We could, when they're going to do a main roads development and we know there's this reserve there and that reserve, we can say to the main roads, you have to put in an underpass there or an overpass for the kangaroos. And with regards to the boat propeller, it seems to me that I have to look into it. I don't know the cost or anything, but my dad assures me it wouldn't cost very much to put one on. I think it's just a guard around the propeller. It would actually save people's lives too, because people die. So this is like a really simple thing. I think it could be bipartisan. You could say all new boats from the year XYZ have to have one, and then slowly phase it in for older ones. So it's a really doable thing. And that's something that I hope. And if anyone have any ideas, please approach me. I'm very approachable. I'm actually a free resource. So contact me. That's my email, wildandendangered@gmail.com. So also I have a website. That's the butt of a booby. My friend is a really technical photographer, goes, why on earth were you photographing the bum of a booby? And I was like, why not? Because they're really cute. Anyway, so honestly, if you need photos, I'm in WA, but sometimes I go over east. If you want me to come to your wildlife centre and take photos, I'll give them to you. I'm free. If you have ideas for how we can minimise road animals being injured, please contact me because I'm looking for information. And because I am an independent person, I'm quite able to do things I think that organisations and things maybe couldn't do because I'm not stymied by bureaucracy. And I'm a bit of a loose cannon. So. Is that what you're thinking, Helen? Okay, and I think I'm on time. Woo! Oh, okay.
Yeah. Can we, I think even if you don't win the Jim Pollock Award, I think we need to create a new award next year, the biggest energy on stage award, I think.
It's nervous energy.
So we do have a little gift for you, Georgina, thank you. And can we also, we're probably sick of clapping, but can we just clap that $500,000 that Georgina raised for that wetland? How amazing is that?
Honestly, it was a group of people, and we started, and we just got Gondwana Linked helped, the Wilson, we got the Wilson, like it was just, it truly was a community, and it's really inspiring, which just shows when you get together, you're not alone. There'll be someone else out there who wants to help.
No, fantastic. Thank you very much. I actually sent my notes, actually.
Oh, your notes.
I gave you my presentation. So.
Can I just say, I do actually have to shoot off because I've got to go back to Albany, so I didn't want to be disrespectful, and I would really want to listen to the talks, but we're going now, but I will be listening to them. They're recorded and stuff. Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Thank you.